everything. Guess we're good now.
Yeah, now I see it.
Awesome. Hi everyone. Thanks again for joining the session. I think welcome again to the MBA for Africa series. This series has been on for about 2 weeks now. It's our third week. Just a brief background on key um rules kind of taking in consideration as we have this session. Let's try to keep muted throughout the presentation. And then if we have any questions at the end, there'll be like a Q&A session where we can ask our question. Also, feel free to drop your questions in the chat section and we'll kind of go through them either as the presentation is going on or take them at the end as well. A brief background into Lane. Lane is a community of African professionals seeking to leverage community to get into top MBA programs. Typically, members have gotten into a number of like the top 150 MBA programs across the US, Canada, and the UK. And these are like a few schools in which the members are gotten into it. Like I said, let's try to be respectful and as much as possible keep our cameras on and remain on mute during this session. So what to expect during the MBA Faculty series, we're looking at bringing about 12 MBA programs across August to September, and this will happen both on Saturday and Sundays. And you should expect, waivers, engagement with students from the MBA program, as well as admission officers and gain tips with the MBA application. Today, we have with us New York University's Stern School of Business, and we have Matthew Bird, who is an admissions coordinator with the MBA admissions team at the Stern School of Business, and Bakri Kamate, who is also an MBA candidate, part-time MBA candidate at the Stern School of Business. And that's pretty much it for my side, and I'll just hand over to Matthew to take us through Stern as a program and as we know how to position ourselves to apply to the Stern School of Business. So Matthew, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ope. Yes, very excited to be a part of this series. So, like the slide says, my name is Matthew Bird. I'm a member of the admissions committee at NYU Stern. So I read applications, connect with prospective students to talk about Stern, talk about your stories, and very excited to do a little presentation here today. So feel free to drop some questions in the chat as we go along. We'll also have a portion towards the end where hopefully we can have a little bit more of a conversation off mute. I am joined by Bakri, who is a current part-time MBA student. So we'll be focusing mostly on the full-time MBA programs in this presentation. However, Bakri has a whole wealth of student experience as a part-time MBA student. You'll probably hear that there's a lot of crossover from part-time MBA to full-time MBA. Bakri, do you want to take a minute to introduce yourself, where you're at, how long you've been in the program, and your job?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Ope, for setting this up. Certainly, it's a very good program to make sure that we're talking to folks, because one of our challenges, we feel like we don't have enough African students on campus. So I'm happy to be part of this session to be able to recruit more folks to join NYU Stern, right? I guess historically, you see most of the students go to Columbia or MIT, but so we want to put Stern out there because it's a great college. So my name is Bakri Kamate. I'm a part-time MBA student. I work full-time and then go to school part-time. Currently work for Juniper Networks. If folks that are not familiar with what Juniper is a telecom equipment vendor, like a competitor to Cisco Systems. We, company manufacture hardware and software and sell it to like the big players like the telco providers, AT&T, Verizon, and cloud. So my work primarily is kind of like consulting, but dedicated to a customer. So I support IBM Cloud as a network design consultant for them on behalf of Juniper. Still work for Juniper as an employee, but a consultant to IBM. So kind of like that. So we are doing the MBA program primarily not for a job, because there's so Matthew probably will cover that in his slides. People come to the MBA for different reasons. Right? Most of the more familiar one is career switch or maybe getting a promotion. None of that for me. My reason for MBA is like entrepreneurial path, to use the program as a launch pad into a venture. So trying to explore that, taking the time. That's why I'm going through the program. The part-time program is taking me more longer to finish, but the experience is good as I go along. So that's in a nutshell about me. But Matt, back to you.
Great, thanks so much. Yeah, very excited to hear a little bit more about how you use those entrepreneurship resources too later on in the presentation, Thackeray, as
Sure.
I'm sure a couple people are interested in maybe starting their own ventures.
Yeah.
All right, so I have a couple slides. I hope to keep this a little bit more casual. We'll definitely get into that in the Q&A. Hopefully, we'll come up with you and have questions. But I will go into presentation mode now. Give me one sec. All right, so here we are, this lovely picture on the Brooklyn Bridge, right straight from where I'm at right now. So you're joined this presentation because you at least have an interest in NYU Stern. And here at Stern, our programs are really deeply connected to industry. We are at a prime location, downtown Manhattan. We are a 5-minute train ride to Midtown Manhattan, a center of commerce, 5-minute train ride to Financial District Manhattan, a center for finance, and all of the other niche industries are kind of at our fingertips. Location is kind of key here. It's really unmatched. You'll see and kind of get the sense throughout this presentation that New York City is really a gateway to companies all around the world. We really benefit from that central location by bringing employers on campus, and it's really a low lift for them. So all the time throughout the school year, our students are connecting with real world companies, real employers, top executives, and making those meaningful connections in the building they're taking classes with. So we really designed the student experience to be all about transformation. That's why our slogan is change. So our kind of broader slogan is dare it, drive it. And we really feel like this encapsulates our focus around leadership, our focus on experiential learning. That's learning that happens outside of the classroom. So you'll hear me talk about all these different programs, all these different initiatives that our students get involved with to bring that practical development outside of the classroom, work with real world executives, and build relationships that hopefully propel your career. So NYU Stern is really the place where you learn to make change and drive impact in everything that you do. We really, we have it as a slogan, but we really integrate change into the coursework, into our programming so that you kind of exit this program a completely transformed person. And I hear testimonials all the time from just that. So I want to take some time to talk about some different programming opportunity kind of center on this idea of change. There is a strong focus in leadership as soon as our Stern students enter orientation. So right off the bat, you are interacting with our leadership office, being familiarized with programs like the Leadership Fellows. This is a really cool program that happens in the second year of your MBA program, where you are essentially doing leadership coursework. You're meeting with executives, you're meeting with mentors, and you're discussing situations and instances that practice those leadership capabilities. So what's really great is that the leadership office that runs this program, the Leadership Fellows, they hire actors. NYU is such a huge school. We have this acting program that we use. And these actors simulate tough leadership situations that you may be involved in later in life as a core biz leader. So with this leadership training, you're interacting with these actors to kind of navigate tough situations and really flex your leadership skills. And of course, there's mentorship components. You're not there alone. It's kind of a safe space to learn leadership qualities and translate that into your real life. Another thing that I want to just highlight is a lot of different experiential learning opportunities. So Stern Solutions is a program that helps students build a portfolio of real-world experiences. This enables them to stand out and also provide lessons learned that benefit them in their careers. So Stern Solutions kind of matched to different faculty, and then it's a semester-long opportunity to work with a company to solve an issue that the company is facing. So you're essentially like working with major leaders like Apple, like big four banks, and you're getting the opportunity to essentially kind of be an intern for them the entire semester.
Matt, if you don't,
Zachary,
are you changing slides or is this, are you on the first slide? Like, I'm only seeing one.
still on the first slide.
Okay, so okay, just want to make sure. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No worries. I was actually just going to ask you, can you speak to some of your experiences at Stern doing some of the experiential learning kind of outside of the classroom?
Yes, yes. No, that's very powerful. I'm glad you brought that up because as you were speaking, I was noting because I think that's one of the key I would say transformative education. You know, there's a lot of courses, very cool courses at Stone that you do. But when they say experiential learning, it's true and true experiential learning that you get. So at least past semester, I actually took a class. So the program is called Stone Solutions Project. They partner you with a company and you help them solve real problems. The one I took was with a company called Climate Works. It's a fairly new startup. The folks that started it, one of the CEO was a recent graduate of NYU Stone itself, but the owners of the company are like some politicians and policy folks that want to do something about climate change, but doesn't know the know-how, right? So they have some money funding and things like that. So they came up with an idea but they haven't flushed it out. So they came to NYU Stone and partnered with students. It was a group of 3 of us that was on that project. But within the SSP project itself, there's like multiple. There was a team that was working with a tea company in Nepal. They actually made a trip to go all the way to Nepal. And there was a team that works with Bangladesh. This woman that used to work at the sweat factories, manufacturing clothes and things like that. They had enough of the abuse and then the low pay that they're experiencing. And then they want to break away on their own. So they came to NYU, students work with them. This team actually went all the way to Bangladesh and sat with this woman and they discussed. Throughout the semester course, you have like ongoing discussion. There's another team that went to Mexico to help with there's a mall in one of the towns outside of the capital city. They're having challenges with water, consumptions and electricity management. So they're looking for solutions from there. And the team, my specific project was like Climate Works. This company, like I said, it's a startup work. They want to look at where they can plug themselves in terms of the whole entire climate change ecosystem, where they can raise funding and where they can partner with it. So we did this whole semester. My team doesn't involve travel because the company is local here, but it was engaging because we were working with the CEO directly. We had a weekly call with him. Not only just come in and go solve the problem and walk away. This guy becomes almost like an extension of our team, if you will. Then we have a weekly cadence with him, and then of course at the start of the program, a lot of ambiguity, but that's the good part about the whole thing. You don't know what you've been asked to do. First of all, at the beginning, you just have like a preamble type describing what the customer problem is. As you get into the program, you get to know more. But the challenge for you is to ask tough questions to the customer to understand what it is, and then interact and get it. So at the end of the project, we were able to draw a business plan for them of targeted, areas of exactly where they need to put money in because they want to do everything. When we started off, we were looking at almost like, I want to remember 10 different areas. They want to do coral reef restorations. They want to do seaweed farming, how to do carbon sequestering and things like that. So we've kind of focused it now to like building retrofit, which is like a bigger market, easy to target, and then the money is easy to raise. So we draw a business plan and actually did a financial projection for them of exactly if you put dollar amount A, this is how much you're going to get. This is your profit line. This is how all of the players in the vertical what they get. So they liked it very well. We did a final presentation to the CEO and then the owner of the project. Obviously it's a graded course. Like SSP is like a regular normal Stone course. At the end of it, you get graded either A or B. At the end of it, so our class, the project advisor is one of the professors. He was on the call as well with us. At the end, the owner says all of these guys should get an A plus. If you guys offer A plus, give them an A plus. They did an excellent job. So, and it was very, very fulfilling experience. But I'll pause there, Matt, and then let you continue. Go ahead.
No, thanks, Zachary. Yeah, I definitely hear that that's a theme. Our students really feel fully integrated for these Stern Signature projects. They're not just helping hands, they're in there acting like full employees. Another thing that I want to highlight is that there's a lot of international global opportunities at Stern. So there are full semesters abroad, half semesters abroad, but there's also this really interesting program called the Do Business In program, where students go abroad for 1 to 2 weeks based on a faculty's trip, and you get to learn about that particular country's top 3 industries. So different trips have included Europe, China, Canada. We really, as long as a faculty has an interest and we have that partnership, willing to go there for a DBI. These DBIs, you get course credit for them, and they also happen during school breaks. So like January break or spring break. So you get opportunity to earn credit during a break and also go abroad and have an unforgettable experience with your classmates.
Matt, I'll be actually doing a 2 weeks course in January in Israel. So I'm doing the DBI Israel program.
Very cool. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, I have that will be my first DBI, but I've seen students that does 2 or 3 DBIs. And then the Israel DBI specifically is one of the DBIs that's targeted to like a specialization. So like I said at the beginning in my intro, my specialization is entrepreneurship, innovation, and strategy. So the DBI, a lot of the DBIs are kind of like, you go to Australia, you go to New Zealand, you go to Costa Rica and different things like. So I think Costa Rica is more focused on environment. The Italy DBI is fashion specific. You go to Milan, like deep dive into like the fashion industry. So the Israeli DBI is for entrepreneurship. So the program is called Entrepreneurship Innovation, the Israeli model, because Israel has a like thriving startup ecosystems. They're always coming up with their cool technologies and things like that. So the whole program is like a 2 weeks immersion into that. And then you like the partner university, there's a lectures there because I talk to students that did it already, and then of course the whole program overview. So they get you through the 2 weeks program, and part of it too, you do cultural tours. Go to like the Jerusalem, Jenin, all of the historical places in Israel and things like that. It's fun for people that love to do party clubs. They say they have the best clubs in Tel Aviv. I don't know if I will experience that because I don't do clubs, but so that's the fun part of it, and of course what you get out of it is like a broader perspective into like how entrepreneurship is done from an Israeli perspective and things like that. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that sounds so interesting. I'm very jealous, Bakri, that you get to go on that. But yeah, DBIs, I hear a lot of great stories for just like personal growth, for having fun, for working with classmates, and also to opening your mind to different industries in a foreign country. So I also want to use this slide before I move on to just talk about just our commitment to entrepreneurship and the resources that we offer there. If students are interested in starting their own ventures, working for startups, there are a whole host of centers, accelerators that NYU Stern really puts a lot of resources towards so that our students can benefit from them. One of them is the Endless Frontier Labs. This is a really cool program. It kind of acts as a course for a student. The Endless Frontier Labs is a startup accelerator funded by NYU that assists various startups from all over the world that are STEM and sustainability focused. So they apply to be a part of the Endless Frontier Labs and work with our students, work with our faculty, and benefit from our networks. It's a very competitive process for the startups. However, it's much less competitive as a student to get into the Endless Frontier Labs to use it as coursework. So the competitiveness just lends itself to we're getting the best of the best startups that are on the cusp of doing something great, something very cutting edge. So as a student working with the Endless Frontier Labs, you are essentially working with the startup to identify funding sources or develop ideas or get infrastructure and really develop startups that way. And Bakri, since your focus is in entrepreneurship, do you want to talk about some of the other entrepreneurship resources, maybe if you've had experience with EFL, anything like that?
Yeah, so I couldn't do the EFL and how to call it, because the timing is mostly geared for like full-time students, so the part-time schedule doesn't allow me. However, I do participate in the Entrepreneurial Institute. They have a lot of programs that they do. They have like a scavenger hunts where you can go in and try to figure out how to partner with some people in projects or even join projects that you might be interested in, and teams that are already full-fledged. they're beyond ideation state, right? They're almost trying to do like MVV, a minimum viable product type thing. You can join them and help them in different areas. The Barclays Center is also very good. They host an annual pitch competition between NYU Stone and then the Yale School of Business, students there. So I think the one who just got completed recently, and then they gave awards to them. Teams from NYU won the award. And then the other thing outside of Stone is like Techstars. Like Techstars also partners with, they do a lot of programs, Techstars is I think it's a startup incubator type thing. Like almost you could think of it like the Y Combinator of the East Coast. They do funding, they do, those students. I have known actually a classmate that, he came from Ireland, and him and three other guys start up a company, and then they got funding from Techstars right away. So the entrepreneurial landscape, like Matt said, is very robust in New York City. Companies are there ready, waiting to work with students, solve all different kind of problems. The two key centers within NYU Stone itself is the Barclay Center, which is focused. So when you say entrepreneurial institute and Barclay Center, the difference is that the entrepreneurial institute is for the entire NYU system. Depends on, no matter whether you're in Stone or any other school. But the Barclay Center is dedicated to NYU Stone only. So you have two different areas you can take advantage of as a student. Whereas other university NYU students, maybe schools don't have that advantage. You only have entrepreneurial institute as entrepreneurial thing. Well, for Stone guys, you have access to both Barclay and entrepreneurial institute, so which is good. So you take advantage of all of their programming. Sometimes they overlap, but most of the time they're different. So that's great there. Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much, Bakri. All right, so I'm finally going to change the slide. Thank you for your concern in the chat. Does everyone see the next slide? Yes? Good. All right, so I just want to also talk about our other kind of our co-slogan, IQ plus EQ. At NYU Stern, we really have very smart students, and we've always had smart students. That's the IQ, that intellectual quotient. But we also are looking for students with strong EQ, that emotional quotient, how you work in teams, that leadership capability, how you solve problems, your ability to be compassionate, to ask interesting questions, to have difficult conversations. And that process of developing your EQ kind of starts at the application. Halfway towards this presentation, I'll dive into the application details. So any questions about English language proficiency or standardized tests, we will get to those. We're kind of more focusing on Stern culture right now. So we'll also have some time at the end to answer any questions you have. But I just want to bring one example of EQ at Stern. So we really have a very global student body. Students are coming from all over the world, all over the United States, certainly. And it may feel very intimidating to jump into one of the most bustling cities in the world, New York City, especially downtown New York City, which is particularly exciting and overwhelming. We really want to foster that community at Stern, and one way we do that is through blocks. So for the full-time MBA program, once you are entering your study, you are pretty much taking all of your core classes with the same 60 or so students. That way you see familiar faces, you are taking coursework with the same people, so you're building relationships that way. We also break it down a little bit further, and we put you in study groups that are 10 or so students. These are completely optional. You don't have to meet with your study group. However, this is a little bit more programming, a little bit more structure, so that you see familiar faces, who build connections that way, and you don't feel so alone moving to a new city, potentially. You get to commiserate, and you get to celebrate, and you get to explore and have those conversations with a really interesting group of people. Bakri, do you want to talk about some ways that you kind of built your community in New York?
Yeah, absolutely. So before the community, I want to just kind of tag on to the IQ plus EQ. I would say IQ plus EQ plus humility, right? So usually MBA students are like, known to be like, especially if you go to one of the top schools, people are kind of a little bit braggadocious or something like that. But NYU, you will find the most humble, class of students there. Like people are ready to help you and be friends with you. And then so you build community because you have like-minded people. Like the EQ component is key because that is not only, professing your smartness. It's about your human connection. How do you have compassion with people? How do you relate with people and things like that? And that's true and true. You see that in actual students, you know, don't go in there at Stone, no matter who, where your background is, Black, Spanish, white, you know, people love to be team, you know, together. And I'll get to the community building here. But there was it's funny, one of our professors who got a chance to, you know, also lecture at a competitive business school. I wouldn't call the name. He said the students there, their smoke index is off the chart. You know, so basically their smoke index. He said, but that's one of the reasons why he likes to lecture at NYU, because the students are more humble. The other MBA program, the students' smoke index, that's how he put it, is off the chart, meaning that, you know, the people that think that they are above the whole world and things like that. And in a community like that, it's even hard to make friends. But if everybody's humble, EQ is like primary, higher on everybody's plate than even IQ. You get to see the human side of people, and you connect at them at the human level. Right? So talking about building community, you know, it's great. So I like to break it. My total experience, like with Stone, they have these 4 C's. 4 C's basically your classes, which of course give you like new ways of thinking that you would never thought about. You know, it's very, very transformative education. Your clubs, right? The clubs are based interest-based and affinity-based, right? The interest-based is just like if you want to like do like, for example, golf club or things like that. But affinity-based is where I find kind of like way to build communities as well too. So you have like ABUS, for example, is Association of Hispanics, you know, Black students, Hispanic and Black students. And then we have an African version of it, which we call SIA, Stone in Africa there. So there you connect with people. But what we have done recently, like SIA kind of fall under ABUS, and then both, you know, folks from here and African continent and things like that are like connecting at levels that, you know, we will probably not have opportunity to do. We have Jollof Fest, for example, that, you know, a lot of people come to people, everybody like Jollof rice across the board. We will not go into the competition there, who's made the best Jollof rice, but, you know, that's one of the popular things that we do. So there you build communities, because once we do that, we don't only limit it to the Stone students, you know, students across NYU join, and then it's very important. But most, beyond even the affinity clubs as well too, like building community through classmates and things like that. When we started the program in 2021 spring, you know, Stone has just started to do like, you know, options for like in-person or online. So the in-person classes were not popular because everybody was scared of. So the few of us that brave to go in person, we kind of bonded, you know, from that class. We call it like, the class name is Leadership in Organization. It's called LIO. So we have a WhatsApp group called LIO-OGs, like original gangsters from that class. So until today, like we almost like personal friends. We almost know each other from back in, you know, before we start NYU Stone. So you build communities through different ways, classrooms, to affinity clubs, and through different engagements at Stone. So go ahead, Matt.
Thanks so much, Bakary. All right, so let's talk a bit about the program offerings at Stern. So you'll see 3 different programs. These are our full-time MBA program offerings. Our kind of bread and butter is our 2-year full-time MBA. This is a program that's very popular if you are interested in switching careers or doing a career pivot. This is the program that a lot of people gravitate towards. This full-time MBA program is really ideal for both breadth and depth. You get 2 years to explore different industries, but also have opportunities to dive into specific areas of interest. This is a very flexible curriculum. So you typically get all of 4 courses out of the way, your first semester, maybe your second semester as well. There is an internship component halfway through during the summer of your 2-year program. And then your last year is pretty much reserved for any lingering courses and then also electives. So students take really interesting electives. You can take electives in other NYU schools, not just the business school. And that's where students really get to explore and have a lot of fun in this program. Not to say that the first year is not fun, but in elective, really get to connect with your faculty and explore interesting concepts that you would not have otherwise. So the flexibility of this full-time curriculum really just allows you to get the full range of what you want from a program. You have time to explore, you have time to make mistakes. In this 2-year full-time MBA, you have an opportunity to specialize in up to 3 areas of interest. We have 20 plus specializations. I think you only need 3 courses to complete a specialization. They're not so much like an undergraduate major. Sometimes certain students accidentally specialize in something. They don't mean to. They're just taking this work and, oops, I specialize in sustainability. So you can come in very targeted and kind of map out your visualizations, or be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more free-flowing, and explore coursework that way. So what's really useful about this full-time MBA is the internship component. If you are looking to pivot or explore a different industry, this internship can be crucial for getting a full-time job after your program. A lot of students explore, let's say, investment banking, get an internship in an investment banking firm during the summer of their 2-year program, and then get a return offer and kind of fail all through their second year, start their new full job. So our students really fit from that structure. If they want to go for traditional career like investment banking, like consulting, like finance, if you are interested in some more niche, some more emerging industries like health, sustainability, starting your own venture, that's where you have a lot of agency to determine your recruitment goal. So a lot of those students either recruit their second year of their program for just-in-time roles. Those are companies that are not following traditional recruitment trends. They have specific and sporadic employment needs. And we've built relationships with those companies. They know that they can come to NYU Stern and get a very eager bunch of students that are capable and qualified. All right, so let's talk about our two focused MBA programs were launched just a couple of years ago. We have the Tech MBA for people who are interested in exploring tech roles, and then also the Fashion and Luxury MBA for people who are interested in retail, in fashion, in luxury, in cosmetics. We see this program kind of evolve every single year. We see a lot of interest in cosmetics now, makeup, big companies we're partnering with, Estee Lauder, Revlon. So we're kind of struggling with what to call this fashion and luxury program. Is it fashion luxury? Is it cosmetics? Is it retail? We see our students kind of make it their own. But these two focus programs, regardless of what you pick, they are pretty much a lockstep curriculum. They are 1 year as opposed to 2 years. So they run from May to May. So you are on campus a little bit early compared to the 2-year students. This is also an opportunity to take curriculum that has 4 different components designed to deepen your foundation in business, but also expand your knowledge of fashion, luxury, or tech. So you still take a business core of courses. It's still a business degree. However, you also take a core in your respective industry, whether that's tech or fashion or luxury. So you're diving deep into that particular area with the coursework. What's really great is that there's also a lot of crossover to 2-year full-time MBA and also the part-time MBA students as well. Students take coursework together. However, there may be some courses that skew one way or another. If it's a tech course, you'll most likely see tech MBA students in it. But also, these 2 courses really benefit from our experiential learning mantra here at Stern. For example, with the Tech MBA, those students travel in the past, they've traveled to Seattle or San Francisco to kind of connect with big tech firms like Apple, like Google, and those connections there. The fashion and luxury students traveled to Milan to visit and see facilities for big fashion houses like Dior, Dolce & Gabbana. So although these programs are 1 year and a little bit more focused, there are still opportunities to do that experiential learning, to get that experience outside of the classroom as well, and to travel. So some different kind of company partners with MBA have included City Ventures, IBM. City Ventures had a really interesting project that was about how to build smart cities. So this is a really cool Stern Solutions project that our students benefited from. Some other employers that we partnered with for the Fashion and Luxury MBA have included LVMH. We partnered with the MoMA, Dolce & Gabbana, Dior. So there's a whole host of connections that we've made these two specialized programs that our students really, really benefit from. All right. So now I want to transition to faculty, but I really want to pass it over to Bakri to talk about his experience with faculty, maybe a professor you see on screen or not that you've had an experience with, and any type of meaningful connections with the faculty that you've had, Bakri.
Yeah, none here, but yes, great faculty for sure. The one that just sparks out of my mind is Matthew Lee. Unfortunately, he is not with Stone anymore, but he moved over to, I think, Kennedy School of Harvard Kennedy School. But anyway, I mentioned Matthew, of course, the other professors as well too. But Matthew came from INSEAD, I think. Yeah, he was a strategy professor. He taught strategy 1 and 2. But the reason why I brought him up is like, most of the schools, when they come in, you take courses, we have celebrity professors, and there's nothing wrong with them. They're good, they're in their game, they're known, that's why everybody knows them. But the thing about Stone is that you will know, like, there's also hidden, professors that are there, you probably never heard about them. Matthew Lee, if you haven't taken his class before, you will never heard his name. He's not like Damodaran, the evaluation king that everybody wants to take a class with, or Galloway, Scott Galloway with marketing and things like that. So those guys are very excellent in their professions, and they're good. But Stone has like a well-rounded, faculty with like one of the smartest minds out there. They might not be like celebrity status like those two people I mentioned, but they will impart in you the best knowledge. So when we took a strategy class 1 and 2, the first time I've seen at NYU Stone, people get like a standing ovation to a professor at the end of the course was in Matthew Lee's strategy course, because it was well, everybody felt like, yeah, tune in. Usually people, halfway lectures, they're like, this guy will keep you, attended. And then of course Matthew, and then you have at a personal level, our business law professor. Some of these professors like do like on their own time, on weekends, provide like boot camps to things. I haven't taken that course per se, but I did a boot camp with Professor Handler, Richard Handler, like one of the nicest persons. At the end of it, he invited 4 of us from the class, from the boot camp program, to one of the most expensive restaurants in New York City, where he met celebrities. He would talk about one time Jeff Bezos came there, and I think he met Michael Jordan and things like that. I think it's a Z, and you might know the place, Matt, and if I'm saying it correctly, Zero Bone is the name of the restaurant. So fancy, high-end restaurant and things like that. He took us there, on his own dime. We didn't have to pay anything. But there, it's more like personal level, beyond classroom and everything. Like he's talking to us about our things like that. He says, oh yeah, when you guys have business, whatever you're doing, low stuff, call me, here's my card and things like that. So you have that kind of personal level. He did that on his own. He didn't have to do it. He's not part of the Stone program and things like that. So and then of course, you have professors that also might be very challenging. But what I always say is that, like, one of the operations professor guy is like smart, is crazy, so people get kind of discouraged. But what you get from people like that is like makes you, force you to think like, because it's a hard class, it's tough. He's very fast and everything like that. But if you stop yourself and just try to get the knowledge out of him, you'll walk out of that class like, with a whole different guy. So all in all, it's one. They have a fantastic faculty at Stone, with one of the best professors. Right, go ahead.
Thanks so much, Bakri. So if you really take the support of this faculty network and mix it with our central New York City location, you really do get unparalleled access to greatest needs in the world, all knocking at your door and really eager to get to meet you. So I want to just highlight our careers office. So really, New York City is just a gateway for all of these companies to meet you at our central location. Being here makes it easy to get in front of them, whether that's a corporate presentation or a coffee chat. They want to meet you, and we have connections to put you two in the same room. So we have the careers office, who is really the nexus for career support at Stern. They are the handholders. As soon as you get admitted to Stern, you will be hearing from our careers office, and it really starts with orientation. We have an Ignite program. Ignite is the acronym that they use to really get you up to speed to meet with employers. So they're looking at your resume, they're helping you write a cover letter, they're having conversations with you about your career goals so that you are prepared to have these unique conversations in front of executives, in front of hiring boards, in front of recruiters, so that you're prepared to sell yourself. And we get it. You're coming from maybe not a background in business, maybe a background in something completely different, like arts or education. The careers office provides that industry knowledge so that you're not blindsided. You are supported through every step of the way. You are going for that more traditional investment banking or consulting role, then your recruitment kind of starts within the first week. A lot of that recruitment for that internship happens in the fall semester, so your first semester of school, where you are having interviews with these companies. We have such relationships with these companies that they are essentially hiring you to be an intern on a promise. You haven't completed any coursework yet. You don't know maybe how to model in Excel or case for your big consulting internship. However, they are confident in our coursework to get you up to speed so that you are prepared for your internship and then prepared for your full-time job offer after the program. So our careers office really partners with a lot of different student organizations to make that happen. I'll talk a little bit more about clubs in the next slide. However, I just want to use this opportunity to highlight one of our clubs, the Management Consulting Association, MCA, which works very, very closely with the careers office. So people who are interested in recruiting for consulting firms will join the MCA, and it's a very low barrier for entry. Maybe you'll hear at others that there are like these soaring club fees. I believe the club fee for MCA is like $10. It's very low barrier. Everyone kind of joins it. And what the MCA does is they partner with the careers office to give you training on how to tackle these interviews for the internship and then also full-time job interviews kind of later down in your career at Stern. So you meet weekly to do lectures and to do exercises and to talk with the MCA students, our second-year students who've been through the process already, and then also our career specialists as well. I know that the careers office is a little bit removed from the part-time MBA, but do you have any experience working with careers or CCWP or anything like that?
So not yet. I plan to utilize them heavily the last year of my program, starting next year. But talking about MCA, like you were saying, so in addition to like the job interview, they help you with casing. Like most of these consulting gigs are all with cases. When you go for an interview, like they throw a case at you. These guys, because I'm a member of it, because as a strategy specialization, I'm kind of like thinking about strategy consulting along the line. So I joined the club just to see what they have going on. But it's one of the most popular clubs on campus too. It's a professional club because, like I said earlier, all these clubs are kind of like, they have professional clubs, affinity clubs, and interest-based clubs and things like that. Interest mostly like around sports and things like that. So MCA is one of the professional clubs. Almost every major, I wouldn't say all, but a lot of students join it, and they have that tons of experience. Like I said, it's MBA twos will be going for their internships. They come back with tons of knowledge from these consulting firms, and then when they come, the next time they're doing casing training and things like that, they're showing you real cases that they have been, that was put in front of them, and then train you how to pass those things and things like that. So yeah, and in the career, like I said, you mentioned the Ignite program. They have one specifically for the Langon program because I'm part-time. So I'll look at it too, and see, because my interest is not really career switching or anything like that. So I don't utilize it as much, but they had great programs there too. One experience I could quickly share before, which called one of my classmates, we took classes together. We're just talking, at some birthday program. It's like, oh yeah, this company that I applied for a long time back, they didn't hire her. So as she started this part-time program, the only thing that changes on her resume, she's also a Langon part-time. It was now MBA student, at NYU Stone. And they hire her and then actually pay her more money than they were supposed to pay her previously. I was like, wow, you already got your money back, the investment back already. It's like, oh yes, it's like, and then in addition to her too, all of the people that I started the program with, since 2021, I've seen like promotions. Every time you look at their LinkedIn program, promoted to director, promoted to manager most of these folks are like individual contributors and things like that. But as soon as they start a program, and these are part-timers, I'm not talking about full-time, part-time folks, because I have more experience there, that just got NYU, whole student, experience and things like that, like that promotions is easy. So, yeah.
I'll also use this opportunity to talk about our strong alumni network.
Yeah.
We have Sternies everywhere, throughout the city, throughout the world, and they want to give back. We have an alumni office, partners very closely with the careers office with building those connections, especially if there's ever an opportunity where you are digging around LinkedIn, you see that a person went to Stern, they're in a role that you're interested in. If you just reach out to them, I've heard that it's 90% of the time at a response. If they get a response, they're going to meet with you. They'll have a coffee chat and maybe create some synergy there for an interview. So our alumni network is very, very strong. I believe we're about to launch kind of an alumni in residence program through our corporate relations team. So you will have an opportunity as a student, as a Stern student, they'll have office hours. Our alumni will have designated times to connect with you. They'll have your profiles, you'll be able to review, and you'll be able to create connections, have those informational interviews directly on campus or on Zoom, however they would like to connect. But I do hear, like, if you really want to get strong, like, quality information, dig around LinkedIn, sleuth around LinkedIn, click NYU Stern or really any school you're interested in, and find the alumni and reach out in that way.
Right.
All right, so I think that's a good transition to community. We talked a little bit about the MBA, which is a professional club. But like Bakri was saying before, there are affinity clubs around identity and also just clubs to have fun with, like the ski club, snow club. There's a wine club. Bakri, do you want to talk about your involvement in any of these clubs and maybe a fun experience?
Yeah, so I'm in the Abbas Club and Sia Club, like I was mentioning earlier. So Abbas, actually, I came in to Abbas to kind of like paying back. Of course, it's an affinity club. It's a club association of Blacks and Hispanic students at NYU Stone. But my exposure to the club, like you were saying earlier, going to LinkedIn, try to find people to talk to. I don't know anybody at NYU Stone when I start my application process. And at that time, it was in the heat of COVID-19. So going on campus is like almost other things. So you cannot do campus tour, you can't schedule anything like that. So I was like, how do I connect with an alumni or somebody already going through the program? So I started doing what they call cold calling or cold emailing, cold contacting people on messages. And of course, some people didn't respond to me, but the first girl that responded to me, and then I spoke to her. She was just about to finish the program. She was doing her internship at McKinsey at the time. She wound up working there for 18 months and then left. And now it's like a director. So VP at one of these pharmaceutical companies. So she said, oh, I know somebody who you could talk to that will help you. So actually a current student. So she connected me with somebody and I, do an email introduction and things like that. She, we spoke, wound up helping me with my entire application process from like, essay reviews and everything like that. And then she was part of Abbas. She said, oh, yeah, actually part of Abbas program, what we do is for incoming students, we help them, review their resumes or to review their applications to make sure everything is in correctly, to help them to, then they do that across the board. I said, okay, wow. When I get into NYU Stone, I definitely have to join Abbas because I need to give back. So that was my way in there. And I built a community. That person now becomes a personal friend. Like 2 to 3 weeks ago, we invited them to my house here. We, my wife and my son, we had spent a whole day together, So it becomes family now, not beyond friendship, it becomes a family. So yeah. But and Asia also, like I say, Stone in Africa is another affinity club as well too, specifically for like African students. But we have membership across the board. Unfortunately, we have some challenges there where now we had to lump it with the Abbas club, but it works out perfectly okay because they kind of overlap. You have Black students, from African continent from here, a part of Abbas, and then students from African continent, specifically in Shia. So most of the memberships are overlap. So now we kind of lump it together, and then the programs are fantastic. We do like a lot of events together. You know, right now I think they're doing like a welcome back event for students. You know, the semester starting right now. I couldn't attend that, obviously. I'm on this call, but they're doing that in New York City today in person. So, yeah. But that's my experience there. Matt, back to you.
Thanks so much, Bakri. Yeah, so we have 40 plus student clubs, and it's grown each and every year. Clubs really are determined by the students that make them up. So I've heard stories that some clubs that are like affinity clubs or maybe fun clubs, they'll skew more professional one year and then they'll skew more personal and social the other year, just depending on the group of students that is in that club that particular year. I just want to highlight that a really cool event that we were able to bring back this year, and then I think the year prior was Pathway, which is a really great event. All these international student population at Stern is very, very large. They set up booth to represent their culture, and they bring their food, their dance, their music, and it's a really, really interesting opportunity just to see the diversity of our student population at Stern.
Yeah, that's a popular program, you know. Everybody participate into that one. Yeah.
It was so fun. I went here. It was really, really great.
Very good, yeah.
All right. So hopefully hearing about the Stern community got you excited about potentially becoming a Sternie yourself. So now I'm going to transition to the application portion of the presentation, how to get in and what to look out for. So at Stern, as a member of the admissions committee, we really do take a holistic approach to reviewing application. It's not just your test scores, it's not just your grades, it is a holistic view of who you are as an applicant. And that's why we include so many different components to this application. We have 3 different essays, your standardized test, your transcript, your resume. This is our way to really get to understand you as a person, as a professional, and to help your EQ shine through. So I want to start with the academic portion of the application. I like to think of this column, the academic portion, as things that have already happened, things in your past. So your college record, your graduate record, or any graduate work that you complete as well, we'd like to see those transcripts. For the application, all you need to do is copies of your transcripts. If you are admitted, then we'll look for those official copies directly from the institution, but just to apply, copies are completely fine. Keep in mind that NYU Stern is a very global it's a very global school. So we are very familiar with assessing transcripts from all over the world. So no need to do any conversions, your grades, no need to convert it to a 4.0 traditional American grading scale. We can read your transcript exactly as it's distributed. So let's talk tests. So there is a standardized test component to full-time MBA application and also the fashion and luxury MBA application. The tech MBA test optional. So that means you do not need to submit a test if you don't want to. For that tech MBA, if you do a test and you would like to submit it, we will only consider that test score if it aids your candidacy. However, for the 2 full-time MBA and the fashion and luxury MBA, we do have a test requirement. We accept the GMAT, the GRE, the executive assessment. We also more recently started accepting the MCAT, which is the doctor exam, the DAT, the dental exam, and the LSAT, the law exam, if you have those test scores lying around. Keep in mind, there are no minimum test scores to apply to NYU Stern. However, it may be helpful just to look at our class profile, which is a snapshot of our current class. We publish averages on test scores for the GMAT and the GRE. So that be a good indicator if you're looking at, what the current class scored on their standardized tests. We also offer this cycle a standardized test waiver request process. So on our site is a link to the standardized test waiver request application, pretty much. And you submit as a part of that application your resume, your transcripts, and then a brief statement as to why you feel you are academically ready, academically fit for an MBA program without taking a test score. So that could include just listing all of the coursework you feel would be helpful, whether that's quantitative coursework, coursework in leadership, anything that demonstrates use with data is really helpful for us when assessing those requests. So if you are interested in that test waiver request process, go to our website, find the link on our standardized test webpage, and complete that application before you submit your regular MBA application. Turnaround time for those test waiver requests is about 3 weeks. So keep that in mind. We'll talk about deadlines a little bit later. But if you really want a deadline, get everything submitted by a particular deadline, but you're waiting to hear back from a standardized test waiver request, then just kind of map it out. 3 weeks is the latest you'll hear back. All right, so let's also talk about the English language proficiency requirement at Stern. So there are a couple of different ways to prove your English language proficiency. One being your native language is English. Two being you received a degree that was taught in English, whether that's your undergraduate degree, any type of graduate degree, or you could take a test in English. We accept the two that you see on screen, the IELTS and the TOEFL. Those are both tests. And we also accept the Duolingo English test as well. Again, no minimum test score requirements. And we don't publish averages on our class profile for these English tests. However, I believe each agency kind of provides guidance on what a strong English score is. So take a look there. And if you don't meet those first two criteria of English language proficiency, you could always take an exam. All right. So let's talk about the professional portion of the application. So this is what you're doing right now, your current role and your entire work history at this point. So that starts with your resume. My biggest piece of advice for your resume is to really focus on highlighting your accomplishments. We know that you have a whole wealth of work experience under your belt, but we don't want to see a 4-page resume. 1 to 2 pages is completely fine. That way you get to cherry pick your best experiences and sell yourself in a very succinct, kind of strong, quick resume document. So tell me about the times that you've made impact to your role. Numbers are great for this. So for example, if you're in a sales position, increase sales by X amount in the first quarter. That way I really get to see a concrete example of your impact in your job and how you make change in your position. So now we come to our first essay component of the application, the professional aspirations essay. So we really just want to know what your short-term goals are after getting your Stern MBA. This is a very short essay. We're not looking for a lengthy explanation. Just what are your goals? What types of jobs do you want? What types of organizations do you want to work for? If you know the names of those organizations, the names of those titles that you want to hold, let us know. I don't recommend writing in this essay. I don't know what I want to do after my Stern MBA. I recommend, being with professionals, having those conversations, doing research, connecting with alumni on LinkedIn. That way you have understanding of what is realistic with a Stern MBA at this point in your career. We're also kind of looking throughout the application for that self-awareness component. If you feel like a Stern MBA is the right move for you to pivot in your career or get a promotion in your job, let us know in this essay. All right, let's talk recommendations. At Stern and in this application process, we call recommendations our EQ endorsement. So for the full-time MBA applicant, we only require 1 EQ endorsement, and we're seeing that comes from your current or most recent supervisor. Now, if you cannot provide recommendation from a supervisor, that's completely fine. We just ask that you provide the circumstances of that in your application. There's a little text box details in on. So maybe you do not want to tell your supervisor that you're potentially leaving for business school for 2 years. Or maybe you have not worked with your supervisor for that long and are not really familiar with your work style, or maybe you're in jobs. All that is completely fine. Just let us know in the application if you cannot provide that supervisor endorsement. Okay. So let's talk about my favorite part of the application, the personal part. These are our 2 essays where you get to share a little bit about yourself. So that starts with the change essay. So before I mentioned that our tagline at Stern is change, dare it, dream it, drive it. So this essay is an opportunity for you to pick a verb to create your own Stern tagline. So that can include manifest. So it would be change, manifest it, change, embrace it. And in an essay, just share with us what change means to you. We leave this open-ended reason because we really want you to bring yourself to this prompt. This could be personal. This could be about work. This could be pandemic related, as we all experienced a mental change a couple of years ago. Any way that you view change, we'd like to hear it in this essay. And now let's talk about our visual essay, our pick 6. So this is an essay where you share 6 images of whatever you would like to share with the admissions committee that represents your. I've seen family vacations. I've seen pictures of pets, sports logos, seen restaurants. Again, we leave it open-ended for a reason because we really want you to bring yourself to this prompt. If you would like to get creative, you are welcome to do so. If you would like to use Google Images, you are welcome to do so. Don't overthink it. I got a lot of nervous questions about this pick 6. It is so personal. It's so open-ended. Just 6 images to represent who you are, and also then 6 corresponding captions that just explain how this image represents who you are. Okay. I'll also use this slide to talk about the interview process. So at Stern, once you apply, you will receive one of 3 initial notifications. One being invite to interview, one being a waitlist offer, and the other being a job decision. So the invite to interview, all admitted students are required to interview with a member of the admissions committee at NYU Stern. So you'll be interviewing with someone who has read your application in its entirety. They've read your resume, they've read your goals essay, and they're coming with questions about your goals and what you want to achieve while at Stern. So I believe the number last year was like 75% of people invited to interview were then later admitted to Stern. So if you get an invite to interview, you're on the right path to becoming a Stern student. It's also your opportunity to interview us. We recognize that you are probably applying to a lot of different business schools and weighing your options. Is this the right school for you in a New York City urban environment? We want you to come with questions so that we make sure that we have like the best relationship going forward. So reread your application is my biggest piece of advice. Sit down with a friend to practice an interview. Come in your best interview attire. Treat it like a job interview. And get to talk about your goals and why Stern. So let's talk some deadlines. So over on the left side of the screen, the reddish square, you'll see deadlines for the 2-year full-time MBA. And then over on the right, you'll see our deadlines for our 2 focus programs. They differ a bit just because the 2 focus programs start a bit earlier. They start in May as opposed to September. So we need to get those decisions out a little bit earlier. You'll also see that final deadline to apply to those 2 focus programs for international students is January 18th. And we just do that to allow international students to have enough time to go through the visa application process if there is any holdup there. We want to give them as much time as possible. So what these deadlines mean, keep in mind that applications at Stern are reviewed on a rolling basis. So they are reviewed as they are submitted. So with each deadline you see on the screen, there's an initial notification date, which is the latest date. you will hear back from us with an notification. Okay. And remember, that's an invite to interview, a waitlist offer, or denial decision. So for example, over on the 2-year full-time MBA and also for the Focus MBA, our first deadline is September 18th, coming up soon in a month. That corresponding initial notification deadline is December 1st. So if you have a complete application submitted by September 18th, the latest you'll hear back from us is December 1st. Keep in mind, we're reviewing applications on a rolling basis, so you will probably hear back from us before December 1st. But we like for applicants the latest date that they hear back from us, just so that they can coordinate with other applications, coordinate with their life, coordinate with their job, so that everyone feels comfortable with the timeline. Okay, so my last slide before we go into Q&A is just how to keep in touch with us. Over in the purplish square, we love purple at Stern, you'll see our general contact information, our email and our phone number. And in the blue square, you'll see our general website where all of this information is available and ready to review. And then if you would like to get in contact with a current student that works for our office, you can reach out to the email reddish square, which is our graduate ambassadors. So currently we're having a little bit of a changeover with our graduate ambassadors now that it's summer, we have to hire a new group of graduate ambassadors. So there may be a little bit of a delay with connecting you with current students. However, it's worth just emailing and then we'll get back to you if there's any type of delay.
Awesome. Thanks much for the session. I think it was great learning about student program in general. So I guess now we'll dive into FSR area.
No, okay, I was gonna say before we go into Q&A, just one community that I forget to mention is called the African Graduate Student Association. That's not Stone specific, it's the larger NYU to all the graduate schools and things like that. That's a very, very powerful club. If you ever come to Stone, you want to be connected with them because they don't only help you with school-related stuff, even rent, when you want to have a place to stay, folks will show you, who is the rents are available. They have like an entire program called Introduction to NYU, New York City, how you need to navigate the whole place and things like that. So that's, as you know, beyond your applications, once you get accepted, African graduate student, they have a LinkedIn page, you can connect there and things like that. So it's very, very helpful. You could be like, oh, I want to rent an apartment, or I want to a roommate or something like that, or how do I get a boss, or these things like that. They have information on everything you need to know for your life in New York City if we come over. So, but go ahead. I just want to put that out there.
Thank you so much, Bakri. That was a great point. Ope, how much time do we have for Q&A? Did I go over?
I think we'll just pretty much run through all the questions we have at this point. So I think FSR will be moderating that. He has to list. FSR, you can start.
Oh, great. Hi, I'm Brad. Hi, Patrick. Thanks for joining us on this session. It's really been insightful. I'll just take a few minutes to go through the questions we have been asked on the charts. Okay. So we have a few questions from Eniola. Our first question is there a waiver for English tests?
So with the English language proficiency component, we do accept the IELTS and the TOEFL. We also accept the Duolingo English test. If your native language is English, or you have received an undergraduate or graduate degree taught in English, then you do not need to take an English test.
What's the same? Okay. So another question from is official transcript required before admission? And is the MBA program STEM designated?
So To answer the first question, you do not need to apply with official transcripts. You can apply with just copies of your transcripts. If you are admitted, then we'll ask for official transcripts. For the second question, the full-time MBA two-year program is STEM designated, and the Tech MBA is STEM designated.
Okay, that's good. So does the fashion MBA does not take STEM designated?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I know you had responded to, or your slide has shown when applications are opening, so I'll just keep that. Also, there's a question here on how we can assess alumni and current students. I think your last slide also spoke to this, but we can provide more context, or there are other means to reach out to alums and current students for networking.
Yeah, alumni is a very powerful community at Stern, like we were talking about before, and like Bakary has had success with. He just cold messaged people on LinkedIn. You can search, who graduated from NYU Stern, who is currently a student. I definitely recommend that. You could also reach out to us. We have an alumni office that is willing to connect with prospective students. If you come to admissions events, we often have an alumni that we partner with to talk with prospective students. So there are a whole host of ways to get connected with the alumni community at Stern.
That's awesome. Okay, I'll just wrap up the last two questions from Eniola. What is the acceptance rate and what is the amount of funding available?
So our acceptance rate is posted on our class profile, which I'm just pulling up now. And on our class profile, you'll be able to see various statistics about our current class. Last year, for the incoming class of fall 2022, our admission rate was 27%. And that resulted in a class of 324 enrolled students.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Margaret. Okay, we have a question here on the Peak 6 essay. We'd like to know how best to approach this and what are your suggestions?
That's a great question. I got questions about the Pick Six. People are a little bit nervous. They think we're trying to trick them. It's really not a trick. 6 images that you feel are important to who you are, whether that's your family, food you like to eat, sports teams you like, music you like to listen to, anything that you feel speaks to who you are is a good Pick Six. I'm not a particularly creative person, so I would probably go to Google Images and look up pictures of cars or look up pictures of a horse because I like horses. So that's completely fine. Don't overthink it, and just be as authentic as you can with it.
Also, if you can get Bakary's input here, given I was able to approach a speak from 6S, so really appreciate that with you.
Sorry, what was that again? Input on the Pick Six, you mean?
Yes, on the Pick 6 essay.
Okay, good question. So we part-time students don't require Pick Six, so that's mostly for full-time. But like Matt says, they have talked to some full-time students that have done the program. I think I've seen 1 or 2 of them, like real actual Pick Six that they share. It's just all about authenticity. Your actual self. You don't make up something that's not you and you can speak to and things like that. People are bringing stories around their life. It could be like your family, your journey that you took that is special to you. Things like, if I would have to like put the Pick Six together, I probably would put one of me in Mecca performing Hajj, right? That's very near and dear to me. It's very spiritual, it's fulfilling and things like that. So stuff like that is, I think, is what they're looking for the most part, but a little bit authentic. No, right, Matt? I think but yeah, we didn't have to do that because of a part-time application. I guess they give us a reprieve there a little bit. So
I know. Actually, Bakri, part-time MBA application now, it's like it's a pick three. You submit 3 images.
Oh, really? Is it
Yeah.
required? Okay, all right. Well, I get. I didn't know that changes. Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, that's awesome. Thanks.
Actually, Efosa, I would like to add to that. One of the recommendations I would have to just add to what Matt and Bakary already said is that when you think about pictures or in any MBA application, think about how you want your story to be portrayed. This is not going to be done by yourself. Even if you're not a creative person as well, as Africans, we need to be able to tell our own stories ourselves. So look for ways or even ask people around you, like, what type of pictures do you think better portrays me as a person? And how do I want to be able to convey that with some of the pictures that I have, either by my experience or by my family or the things that I even value? Like it could be church, it could be volunteering, it could be anything that is just meaningful to you as a person. But also remember that you just want your story to be conveyed that way. And that's what the school is actually asking you about.
That's great advice. A lot of the pick sixes come up in conversation during the interview, just a personal touchstone. So as long as you're authentic and are very intentional in how you represent yourself, and we want to talk about it in the interview.
But thanks for your input on the thanks, Matt. And okay, just a few more questions to do. How do you advise that candidates who got double roles at work with a lump salary list their experience? So this is speaking to the resume and for a candidate that's gotten several promotions at work.
Right, I saw that question. I'm a little confused by it. I think my best piece of advice is just use your best judgment. If you have two different job titles per se, then you can list those two different job titles on your resume. If you're concerned about splitting the salary, then maybe you can pick one position to kind of represent salary. If you also want to use the optional essay to provide any additional context, so this optional essay, truly optional if you would like to provide additional information to any piece of your application, I think that this may be a good opportunity to use the optional essay just to provide that context. So we're not confused reading resume or we're not confused reading the work experience section. Write in the optional essay, this is how my current role is structured.
Great. Just move on to the other question. Please, I'd like to know the conditions in which the GMAT can be waived. So that's the question.
So we offer a test waiver request process. So it's like it's an application that you submit before your MBA application. And we're asking you to submit your resume, as your transcript, and then just a brief, I wouldn't even call it an essay. You could really use bullet points, just asking you why you feel you are academically ready to enter an MBA program, kind of without a test score to prove that, whether that's listing all of the relevant tests, relevant coursework that you've completed, whether that's just talking about how you use data, how you interact with business leaders in your current job. What we are primarily looking for in those requests is the ability to keep up with a very rigorous MBA curriculum. And that does involve quantitative work, anything with data, anything with analysis. If you have coursework in any of that, any quantitative ability, let us know and request.
Awesome. There's a question on the NYU Global Studies sites. How engaged is NYU STEM with how engaged is NYU STEM with global studies sites? That's the Abu Dhabi, the Shanghai, and other satellite campus around the world? And what is the nation of project that sends students to work on in these locations?
So NYU Stern is a very global school. So we do utilize these satellite campuses to some extent with international opportunities. We also have partners all over the world outside of these campuses in other institutions and other organizations. Like I mentioned, he's going to Israel soon. So I can't speak specifically to particular projects that have happened in Abu Dhabi and in Shanghai. However, I know that they have existed in the past just because we have roots in those two locations. But keep in mind, we are very global. It's not just Abu Dhabi and Shanghai. There are opportunities to go to Costa Rica, to China, to Israel.
New Zealand, Australia, yeah, all of those places.
Yeah.
Great. So there's a question here which I think you have responded to, so I'll skip. Just to maybe provide context, it's on the application. If an admission, if an application can be submitted before an application for test waiver, I think you had clarified on that. So still on the test waiver, someone would really like to know if work experience can cover for the GMAT test. I know you stated the requirements, but if you can provide more context on how your work experience applies to this.
Yeah, so work experience is considered in the request. I would really focus on any type of academics as well. So pick out quantitative courses, business courses that you've taken in your academic history, whether that's undergraduate or choice, and let us know of more quantitative courses. We do also review the work history and the resume in those requests.
Excellent. Awesome. The last question, okay, I still have a few more questions. But there's a question here on funding opportunities that are available to applicants or to admits at NYU Stern.
Sure. So all applicants at NYU Stern are considered for merit-based scholarships at the time of application. There are no additional applications for scholarships, for merit-based scholarships through NYU Stern. You are immediately considered for a scholarship as soon as you submit. We have a list of all of our scholarships on our website. Some are partial scholarships, some are full scholarships. For example, we have the faculty scholarship where you're kind of paired with a faculty based on the faculty's areas of interest. So if you really want to get involved in sustainability, you have a background in sustainability, then perhaps a sustainability professor kind of sees that you're interested in and takes you on as a faculty scholar. About 25% of applicants, or 25% of admitted students at NYU Stern receive some type of scholarship, whether that's a partial scholarship or a full scholarship. Keep in mind, there are a whole host of ways that you can finance your MBA. We know that this is a very big, expensive, life-changing degree, and that is not lost on us. Our financial aid office works very closely with students to finance their MBA. We have different opportunities to work on campus as well, part-time, while you're a student, to get some form of tuition remission. For example, our graduate ambassadors that partner with our office, they get paid an hourly wage, and that can go to tuition. You can also apply for a whole host of external scholarships outside of Stern. The financial aid office offers a database and a collection of those resources as well, if you want to look on their website. And then there's also the just more traditional ways of paying for your MBA, whether that's loans, whether that's payment plans. But there are a whole host of ways to finance it.
The follow-up question to funding opportunities would be, what is the implication of waiving the standardized test on qualifying for scholarships?
So similar to our application process, the merit-based scholarship kind of review process is holistic. So we're looking at your application as a whole. It's not just test scores. It's not just your GPA. It's not just your background. We are looking holistically as you as a candidate to kind of determine those merit-based scholarship offers.
Okay. The last question here is the English proficiency test waiver is there like the person really wants to clarify on the English proficiency test waiver? Is it available for students that have their first degree entirely taught in English language?
Yes, if your degree was taught in English, then you do not need to take an English test.
Right. Thanks, Macbeth and Bakari. That's all the questions I have here. Maybe just one final one. Are self-reported GRA and TOEFL scores accepted?
Repeat that one more time.
Are self-reported GRE scores or TOEFL scores, that's for English proficiency, they accepted?
Yes, we accept the GRE and we accept the GRE for the standardized test component, and we also accept the TOEFL for the English test component.
Okay. I think the question was really to specify if those scores are self-reported are accepted.
If they are accepted.
Yes, the self-reported score by the applicant. I mean, not the official score being sent to NYU.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yes, in order to kind of complete an application, you must send your official score to us.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, my brother Bakari. That's been a really insightful session. I personally have learned more about the application process. And we hope we'll be able to reach out to you or even Bakari for further questions. I mean, other persons on the call.
Yes, I'll drop my email in the chat. If you would like to get in touch, also, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Also, I'm just gonna drop this link. If you would like to request any more info through NYU Stern, feel free to do that as well.
That's awesome. Thanks.
If also, I think somebody had his hands off for a very long time. They probably gave up. I'm not sure if they're still there.
Missed that.
Say it again, okay?
Oh, I must have missed that. Please, if you had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, I think that was me. That was me, Aposa. I was here just trying to. Yeah, Okpe, we can't hear you. So I think Okpe was sharing some things with me on the background. Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify. I didn't think you captured my question clearly. The question asked Bird, regarding the application form, right? So it's like having two concurrent roles, right? So normally your normal roles, one has to get expired once you're promoted, right? But it's not the case, right? So the previous role is still active, but you got added responsibility, right? So I understand on the application form, it's mandated to have the salaries for each of the roles. So Okpe advised that I can put $0 for the additional responsibility, then put the lumped figure under the main job. So I just needed that confirmation, right, Matt? That was why I had my hands raised. I didn't think a poster captured it.
I think that would be completely fine. Also use the optional essay just to explain the circumstances of your position. That way we'll get it exactly as it is.
Got it. Thank you. Of
course.
Sorry, can you hear me now? I don't know.
Yes, we can hear you now.
We can hear you.
I tried to speak for a long time, actually. I think even before I put on the question. Thanks again, Matthew and Bakari, for being in the session. It was great having you on board. I believe we've learned a lot about STEM's program and also like how to position ourselves to get in. Just a quick reminder, the MBA for Africa series continues tomorrow with University of California at Irvine, Paul Merrish School of Business. And we look forward to having you tomorrow and in weeks to come as well. Thanks again for taking our time, Matthew and Bakari, for the session. Hope everybody have a nice day wherever you're coming from, or a nice weekend as well. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Bakri, for joining
very
us.
much.
Thank you,
Thank
Matt.
you,
Thank you,
Ope.
Matt.
Thank you.